Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The balcony should have felt like a dream. White linen curtains catching the breeze, the ocean shimmering like liquid sapphire beyond the rail, palm fronds swaying lazily overhead. But the moment Jessica spoke, the whole world turned glassy and cold. "I think we should stop being physical," she said flatly, like it was a routine decision, like changing room service orders. I blinked. What? Jessica, my brand new wife, emphasis on brand new, sat cross-legged on the lounge chair, her eyes hidden behind designer sunglasses. Her voice didn't waver. "I just feel like I need space. Emotionally. Physically." "You mean, after the wedding, after the honeymoon started, now you don't want?" I trailed off, because the word felt radioactive. She finally looked at me. No warmth. Just this steady, detached stare. I said, "Space, Tyler. Please respect that." "No. No. Jess, I'm not doing this. You don't just switch off like that." My voice was rising, the blood pounding behind my ears. "We've been married for 4 days. We haven't even finished unpacking the gifts. I need to feel in control of my body," she replied. Her tone so calm it somehow made me feel crazier. I didn't expect marriage to feel so suffocating. That one word, suffocating, lit a fuse. Suffocating? Are you serious? I laughed, but it was dry and tight. You begged for a big wedding. You picked the venue, the flights, the dress. Now suddenly, I'm a leash around your neck? "I just want space," she repeated like a broken record. "From me." I snapped. "On our honeymoon? In Cancun?" She shrugged, standing and walking toward the balcony edge, her back to me. "Don't make this about you." My hands dropped to my sides. "How can it not be? You said vows. We made promises. And now, you're acting like I'm just furniture you want to rearrange." Jessica didn't respond. She just stared out at the horizon, arms folded across her chest like she was bracing for wind. "You're not even upset," I muttered, stepping back. "You're cold. Like you planned this." "I didn't plan anything," she said sharply. "I'm just being honest with myself." I stared at her. This woman I'd known for 3 years, lived with for 1, adored through every red flag I now felt stupid for brushing off. "Then be honest with me. What is this really about?" "I told you. Space," she said, flat and final. I grabbed my sandals off the floor, jaw clenched. "Fine. Take all the space you want." She didn't even turn as I stormed out. The beach was loud with waves, but in my head, there was only silence. I kicked off my shoes and walked the shoreline barefoot, letting the salt water sting my ankles. Somewhere behind me, a seagull screeched. Couples walked by hand in hand, laughing. Every smile felt like a slap. For days ago, we danced under string lights, clinking glasses and feeding each other cake. Now I was here, newly married, completely alone. Funny thing is, I didn't feel anger yet. Just confusion. Like I'd wandered into someone else's life by accident. I was a middle school art teacher from Austin, nothing flashy, just steady. I'd spent my life building trust, with students, with friends, with her, and she'd burned through it in one conversation. But somehow, I knew this wasn't just about space. Not even close. I don't know how long I sat there. The sand was still warm under me, even with the sun starting to dip. I'd sunk halfway into the slope of the beach, arms draped over my knees, shoes forgotten behind me. The salt stuck to my skin, and my head pulsed with something between a migraine and heartbreak. Every time a wave came in, I'd breathe in. When it left, I'd breathe out. That was the only rhythm that made sense anymore. How did we go from slow kisses in the grocery aisle to this dead-eyed detachment? From whispering plans about baby names to "I need space"? I ran a hand through my hair, still damp from the pool earlier, and tried to piece together the pattern. Was it all fake before the vows? Or did something shift, like a switch? Once she had my last name, I remembered how she used to touch me. Always little things. A hand on my chest when I was half asleep. Sliding behind me at the sink, wrapping her arms around my waist. Laughing when I'd forget what I was saying mid-sentence because she looked too good in whatever she was wearing. It used to be effortless. Natural. Now, she looked at me like I was some stranger who spilled coffee on her at the airport. I dug my toes into the sand. It wasn't just rejection. It was how calculated it felt. No tears. No conflict. Just cold detachment. Like I was a character in a movie she'd already decided to stop watching. That was when a new feeling started creeping in. Slow. Quiet. Suspicion. Not the wild kind. Not the shouting into your pillow kind. This was the kind that slithered in low, curled under your ribs, and whispered, "Something's not right." Had it always been there? Tiny moments I brushed off. I remembered her phone once lighting up in the middle of the night. I'd asked who it was. She said work, but her voice had a sharp edge, like she dared me to dig deeper. Or how she'd suddenly needed more girls' weekends after we got engaged. And how she'd started saying things like, "Marriage changes people. You'll see." I thought she meant in a good way. Now I wasn't so sure. I scooped up a handful of sand and let it pour between my fingers. A little girl ran by with her dad chasing behind her, both laughing, soaked from head to toe. I didn't even realize I was smiling until it faded. That's what I'd imagined. Building something real. Showing up for each other. Having someone who didn't see commitment as a trap, but a promise. Instead, I got a woman who couldn't wait to build a wall right after I opened every door. I checked my watch. Almost 6:15. The resort was still buzzing behind me. Somewhere up there, our suite with the white balcony overlooked this very beach. I wondered if she was even looking for me. If she noticed I'd been gone for over 2 hours. Probably not. And that thought, that she might actually prefer me gone, made my stomach twist. I closed my eyes. Let the breeze press against my face. She hadn't cried. Not once. She hadn't asked if I was okay. She hadn't looked back when I left the balcony. And suddenly, the idea that this was just about needing space felt like a cover-up for something much worse. She wasn't distancing herself to protect me. She was hiding something. Or someone. I opened my eyes again. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. A fracture that had been carefully concealed until the paperwork was filed and the ring was on my finger. I stood up slowly and dusted the sand off my legs. The tide had shifted. And so had I. By the time I got back to the suite, the sun had dipped low, casting an orange glow through the gauzy balcony curtains. The air inside was quiet, still and too perfect, like nothing had happened. Jessica was seated at the edge of the bed, her legs crossed, scrolling on her phone like she hadn't noticed I'd been gone for nearly 3 hours. She didn't even glance up when I walked in. I shut the door softly behind me. "Hey," I said, voice calm. "You good?" She didn't answer, just kept scrolling. I slipped off my sandals and crossed the room slowly. My stomach was still tight, but I kept my voice steady. "I needed some air. Figured you might wonder." "I saw your towel was gone," she said, still not looking at me. "Assumed you went for a walk." "That's it?" I asked. "No call. No check-in. I could have walked straight into the ocean and you wouldn't have blinked." Finally, she looked up. Her expression was unreadable. Not angry. Not even annoyed. Just blank. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said, sitting at the edge of the couch across from her. "I'm trying to understand. I want to talk. Really talk. Because the woman I just saw on that balcony wasn't the same person I married." Jessica let out a small sigh and tossed her phone onto the bed. "I already told you what I needed, Tyler. Why are we still doing this?" "Because your tone was ice cold. And because I don't believe this is about space." She stood, crossed her arms, and turned toward the window. "Do you think pressing me is going to make me change how I feel? Do you think asking the same question twice is going to get a different answer?" I stood slowly. "I think you owe me a conversation, not an exit interview." Jessica didn't move. Her silhouette was outlined in the gold-pink wash of the setting sun. "You want me to say I'm sorry?" she asked, still facing the glass. "You want a tearful confession so you can feel like the good guy who tried?" "I want the truth," I said. "You already have it." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I have the version you rehearsed. The 'I need space' line you came in here ready to deliver. You didn't stutter once." Silence stretched out between us, taut and ugly. I reached for my bag and slowly unzipped it. The sound filled the room louder than it should have. "I'm flying home tomorrow morning." That got her to turn. "What?" "I already checked flights. There's a 7:10 a.m. out of here, direct to Houston." She blinked. "So that's it? We hit one wall, and you're done?" I paused and turned toward her, voice low. "You built this wall. You bricked it up in the middle of our honeymoon. I'm just finally seeing it." Jessica's expression twisted, something between frustration and disbelief. "You're overreacting." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's what people say when they've already shut the door and don't want to explain why." She sat back down, looking more annoyed than sad. "You're really just leaving?" I stuffed my sneakers into the suitcase without answering right away. I zipped a pocket. folded a shirt. I'm not begging to be wanted, Jess. Not anymore. She stared at me, eyes distant. You're taking this so personally. It is personal, I snapped. You just married me, and within 4 days, you've pulled back like I'm a stranger who crossed a line. You don't do that unless there's something else going on. And whatever that is, you won't say. Her mouth opened like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. Instead, she looked away. That silence told me more than any excuse would have. I took one last look at her as I zipped my suitcase closed. 7:10, I said again. I'll leave the second key card on the dresser. And with that, I walked into the bathroom, shut the door, and let the exhaustion crash over me. The glass door of Hutch and Harlan creaked just like I remembered. It was the kind of neighborhood bar that never tried too hard. Same chipped bar stools, same faint smell of citrus cleaner and fried wings. Safe. Familiar. And in that moment, exactly what I needed. Tyler. A voice called from the end of the bar. Marcus stood, arms wide, grin already stretching ear to ear. He hadn't changed a bit. Tall, always in a fitted tee that looked like it came straight from a gym locker, and the kind of friend who always had your back, even when you didn't deserve it. I gave him a half smile as we hugged, then dropped onto the stool next to him. He signaled the bartender for 2 whiskeys before I could even ask. You look like you got hit by a honeymoon, he said. I let out a breath. That's one way to put it. He waited, watching me. I didn't know where to start, so I didn't try to sound polished or smart. I just laid it all out. She told me she needed space, I said. 4 days into the honeymoon. Said she didn't want to be physical anymore. Like she was recalibrating herself. Marcus's eyebrows lifted so high I thought they might fly off his forehead. Wait. Like, out of nowhere? I nodded. No fight. No breakdown. Just a cold, distant announcement. And not a flicker of remorse. He gave a low whistle. Man, that's not space. That's sabotage. I shook my head, staring into my drink. I thought maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I leaned in too hard, too fast. Marcus scoffed. Nah, you know what this is? He leaned forward, eyes narrowing like he was about to deliver a thesis. She married you thinking she was locking in power. That ring? That was her victory flag. Now she's testing how far she can stretch control. Coldness, withdrawal, acting indifferent. That's not distance, that's a mind game. My jaw tightened. You sure? I've seen it, he said. This isn't about fear or trauma. This is about domination. She wants you to chase her. To beg. To dance around her moods like she's the queen of the court. Something about the way he said it hit me square in the chest. Because deep down, I'd felt that. That quiet manipulation. That smug calmness on her face when I asked what was wrong, and she just shrugged like I was being inconvenient. Yeah, I murmured. Yeah, it felt like that. Marcus nodded. You give her power through confusion. You stay confused, she stays in charge. He took a slow sip of his drink, then added with a grin. So stop playing confused. I let that sit for a second. What am I supposed to do? Pack her bags for her? Marcus laughed. Nah, man. Don't go nuclear. Go tactical. Tactical. Yeah. Flip the script. Let her wonder where you went. Post your life. Change your habits. Smile more than she expects. Let her sit in the silence for once. I couldn't help the grin spreading across my face. She'll hate that, I said. Marcus pointed a finger at me, mock serious. Exactly. And when she starts asking questions, you keep smiling. I leaned back in my stool, the burn of the whiskey warming more than just my throat now. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like a wounded man trying to solve a riddle. I felt like a guy waking up from a spell. Break her illusion, Marcus said, tapping his glass against mine. And just like that, I knew exactly what I needed to do next. By the time Jessica's return flight touched down, I'd already become someone else. Not a different man entirely, but a version of me that didn't orbit her moods anymore. She texted me a bland, landed safe, at 6:42 p.m. I saw the notification and didn't respond. I was mid-sprint on the treadmill, headphones in, drenched in sweat, the kind that comes not just from exertion but from release, like something inside had unclenched. The boxing gym had this gritty smell of old gloves, rubber mats, and metal. I liked it more than I expected. My trainer, Eric, was a guy who didn't ask questions. He barked counts, corrected my footwork, and laughed when I nearly tripped during jump rope drills. No talk about space or marriage, just work, sweat, breath. That night, I posted a picture to Instagram. Just a shot of me, gloves on, knuckles scuffed, grinning next to Eric under the flickering gym sign. Caption, rewired. Rebuilt. Round 1. The likes rolled in faster than usual. Friends. Colleagues. A few people I hadn't heard from in years. No mention of Jessica. No tagging her. No sad quotes. Just forward motion. And the silence? It wasn't cold. It was precise. She came through the door 2 days later. Not late. Not early. Just exactly when she said she'd be back. I was in the kitchen, shirtless, sautéing chicken with lemon and broccoli, while a playlist thumped low from the speaker. My apartment smelled clean, not just from dinner, but from the citrus cleaner I'd started using once a week. I'd even picked up one of those glass spray bottles, like the kind you see in health influencer reels. She paused in the doorway, suitcase behind her. I looked over, nodding once. Hey. Jessica blinked, her eyes quickly sweeping the room. She was dressed sharp, makeup perfect, outfit tailored, a quiet kind of glam that used to make me feel lucky. Now, it just felt like armor. Hi, she said slowly. You cleaned? Yeah, I said, flipping the pan. Got into a groove. She didn't speak again for a full minute. Just took in the space. No photos of us on the counter. No ring on my finger. The only thing personal in sight was a pair of new running shoes by the door and a framed print I'd ordered online last week. Peace doesn't beg for company. She set her purse down and walked into the kitchen. You didn't say much while I was away. I nodded. Didn't feel like there was much to say. She studied me, but her eyes didn't hold that same aloofness as they did in Cancun. Something softer, maybe confusion, maybe curiosity. You've been working out? She asked, as if only now noticing the change. Boxing, I said. It's been good. She leaned on the counter. You're different. I turned down the stove and looked at her plainly. Maybe I'm just more myself now. A pause. She shifted slightly, like that answer didn't sit right. You seem distant. I smiled faintly. You asked for space. I figured I'd give some. That hung in the air, heavier than either of us expected. I meant for me, she said. I know, I replied. And I'm respecting that. She opened her mouth like she wanted to challenge it, but nothing came out. Instead, she walked past me, pulled her suitcase toward the hallway, and disappeared into the bedroom. I didn't follow. I plated the food, sat at the kitchen bar, and ate in peace. She didn't come out for dinner, and I didn't ask why. The invitation came from Cody, a buddy from my college days who threw monthly backyard cookouts like it was his religion. Burgers, cornhole, music low and steady, people filtering in and out with paper plates and beer in hand. Jessica had met Cody once before, but that was back when she still smiled in public like she meant it. I didn't ask her if she wanted to come. I told her we were going, and she said nothing, just nodded, as if curious what version of me would show up this time. The backyard was packed with familiar faces by the time we arrived. I wore a black tee and jeans, nothing flashy, but I felt solid in my skin. Jessica, of course, looked flawless. Long white sundress, gold hoops, not a strand of hair out of place. We stepped onto the lawn and were immediately met by Marcus. Look at this man, he shouted, slapping me on the back. Thought you disappeared into a boxing cave. Just recharged, I said with a smirk. He nodded to Jessica. And hey, you brought the wife. Jessica smiled politely. Hi, Marcus. Marcus gave me a quick side glance, a silent you too good? And I returned it with the faintest shake of my head. 10 minutes in, I was surrounded by people I hadn't seen in years. Everyone had questions about the honeymoon, the wedding, the trip. I steered every conversation to food, books, gym routines, anything but marriage. Then came the moment. Cody stood at the grill flipping sausages when a new couple approached and introduced themselves. Hey, I'm Dean. This is my girlfriend, Marcy. And you two are. I didn't hesitate. I smiled, gestured lazily toward Jessica, and said, Oh, this is my roommate. The group around us paused. Jessica laughed once, sharp and thin. Funny. I wasn't joking, I said casually, taking a sip from my glass. Marcy blinked. Wait, you're not together? Jessica's voice was a beat too quick. We're married. But living like roommates, I added with a grin. We've got assigned chores and everything. People chuckled nervously. Marcus, across the patio, raised his eyebrows like he couldn't believe I actually said it out loud. Jessica's jaw stiffened. You know what? She said, leaning in close to me. That's real mature. I turned slightly toward her, voice low. Only saying what you already set up. You're the one who built the distance. I'm just naming it. She stepped back, but her smile was still plastered on. That performance face she wore like armor. The crowd eased away slowly, sensing the static in the air. Can we talk? She hissed under her breath. Sure, I said. Everyone's listening already. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me behind the shed where the music was muffled and the grill smoke couldn't reach us. Her voice dropped to a hiss. What are you doing? Speaking in the same tone you use when you say you need space. Just happens to be louder. You embarrassed me. Did I lie? Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just that tight, angry exhale she always gave when she felt the narrative slipping away from her. I came here to be normal, she said. I stared at her. You came here to be seen. Noticed. Like nothing's broken. She didn't deny it. A pause stretched between us, heavy. Then I added, Thing is, people are starting to see through the act, and I'm not shielding it anymore. Her mask cracked just slightly. The faintest tremble at her chin. For the first time since the balcony in Cancun, she didn't look smug. She looked cornered. We didn't speak the whole ride home. She went straight to the bedroom, slamming the door with just enough force to make a point. I stayed on the couch, scrolling, replying to DMs from people who'd seen the barbecue posts. Jessica's name wasn't mentioned once. The tension was back in the house now, but this time, I wasn't afraid of it. Let her sit in the silence. Let her wonder what version of me would show up next. That night was quiet in the worst way, not peaceful, but heavy, thick. I was on the couch, pretending to watch TV. Jessica had retreated to the bedroom again, without a word after the barbecue. That door between us had become more than wood and hinges. It was a wall, and maybe that's what made what happened next hit harder. Around midnight, I stood to turn off the lights and noticed Jessica's phone on the hallway charger, screen dim, but unlocked. She must have been half asleep when she dropped it there. The screen was open to messages. I didn't mean to snoop. I didn't even have to scroll, because the name at the top hit me like a brick. Evan. That name used to come up in stories. An ex from back in college, she'd said once. We're not in touch anymore. The tone she used back then? Final. Cold. Like he was some distant ghost. But ghosts don't send late-night messages. And definitely not ones like these. Her screen lit up again. A new one. I miss how easy it was to talk to you. You always saw the real me. My breath caught. I tapped the screen. There it was, a whole thread. Weeks long. No emojis, no scandalous photos. Just worse, intimacy. Late-night check-ins. Inside jokes. Subtle flirtation buried in everyday language. Sometimes I wonder how things would have been if we never broke up. You're the only one who really got me. And her replies? She wasn't shutting him down. She wasn't drawing a line. She was leaning in. I've thought about that too more lately than I should. There it was. Not confusion. Not detachment. Choice. I stood there, frozen, the blue glow from the screen painting my face like a funeral light. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. That would have given her too much power. Instead, I quietly lifted my phone and snapped a photo of the screen. Then I scrolled back through more messages. I saw the pattern. The day we argued in Cancun, a message to him just hours after. I don't even feel like myself here. The night I left the barbecue without speaking to her, another message. I feel so alone, but I can't talk to anyone about it. Except she could. She just didn't want to talk to me. I placed her phone back exactly how I found it. Plugged in. Silent. Then I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, my hands shaking just enough to make the ice clink against the sides. This wasn't about intimacy fading. This wasn't about needing time. It was betrayal. A quiet, slippery kind. The kind that worms its way in and smiles in your face while it grows claws behind your back. But I didn't wake her. I didn't rage. I sat at the table, phone in hand, staring at that screenshot. And I began making a plan. Because this wasn't going to end in begging or apologies. It was going to end on my terms. I made steak the way she liked it. Medium rare, rosemary butter on top. Red wine breathing in a decanter. Candles lit. Jazz playing low. The table was set like it was date night, like something soft was about to happen. She walked out of the bedroom slowly, clearly suspicious. You're cooking? I smiled. Thought we could eat together for once. Her eyes scanned the setup. What's the occasion? Closure, I said. She raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. We sat down in silence, clinking silverware, chewing through awkwardness. She sipped her wine. I watched her carefully. She didn't bring up the barbecue. or the Cold War between us. And definitely not Evan. I waited until her plate was half empty before I slid the envelope across the table. She stared at it. Plain white. Sealed. "What's this?" she asked, playful suspicion in her voice. "Open it," I said gently. She wiped her fingers with her napkin and peeled it open casually, like she expected a handwritten letter, maybe some dramatic love confession. Her eyes scanned the top of the first page. I watched the moment it clicked. Her smile twitched, then vanished. "You're joking," she said. "Nope." She looked up sharply. "Tyler, come on. I'm dead serious." Her fingers gripped the edge of the paper. "Divorce?" I took a calm sip of wine. "Yeah." She laughed. Actually laughed, tight and bitter. "You're doing this over one argument." "It's not one argument." She gestured toward the papers. "This is insane. You're being theatrical." I leaned forward, voice even. "No, Jess. What's theatrical is going cold 4 days into a marriage. What's theatrical is whispering emotional confessions to your ex behind my back while I cook you dinner. This is quiet, clean, legal." Color drained from her face. She looked down again, her finger tracing the seal like it might erase the words. "You check my phone," she said, more insulted than guilty. I nodded. "It lit up while you were asleep. Evan texted you again." I didn't look far. I didn't need to. Jessica stood up slowly, papers still in hand. "That was private. So was our marriage." She set the envelope down like it burned her. "You're not even asking why," she said. "Because you already told me. In a dozen little messages. You miss being adored. You miss the power. And you thought I'd keep trying to earn back something you never actually gave me." She stared at me, stunned by how calm I was. "You're serious?" she whispered. "As serious as you were when you told Evan." "I've thought about that too, more lately than I should." Her jaw tightened. "That was just a stupid conversation." "No, Jess," I said, standing slowly. "It was a choice." She looked at the flickering candle between us like it held answers. But the flame just danced quietly. I cleared the plates. "You can stay the night," I said over my shoulder. "But tomorrow I'll have the locks changed." She didn't move, didn't speak. For the first time, Jessica looked unsure. Not frozen, not smug, just lost. I rinsed my plate in the sink, feeling lighter than I had in months. Behind me, I heard her whisper, "You're actually walking away." I turned, drying my hands. "You walked first." I just noticed. She followed me into the hallway, barefoot, divorce papers still clutched in one hand like they might crumble if she squeezed hard enough. The candles were still flickering back in the kitchen, but the warmth they cast didn't reach here. "Tyler," Jessica said, voice sharp, like a warning shot. "You're throwing away a marriage over a few texts?" I turned slowly, not angry, just done. "You were emotionally cheating with your ex," I said. "Don't downplay it." Her expression twisted. "I wasn't cheating. Evan is just a friend. Someone who actually listens when I talk." I smiled at that. Not a kind smile. The kind that held something sad and sharp. "Yeah, well, maybe you should have married him instead." Jessica took a step forward, lowering her voice like she was trying to regain control. "You're being reactive. You're hurt and twisting everything. You always jump to the worst conclusions." "Jessica," I said, cutting her off gently. "I'm not hurt." That stopped her. I let the silence hang before finishing. "Not anymore." She blinked fast, like that hurt more than yelling would have. "This whole marriage," I continued, "was a game to you, not a commitment, a performance. You said the right things, played the role, wore the ring. But the second you felt safe, you pulled away. You stopped giving. You watched me flail around trying to fix something you were already dismantling." She folded her arms across her chest. "I didn't mean for that to happen. I was confused. Things were moving too fast. We never even got a chance to settle in. We had 3 years before the wedding, Jess. 3 years where everything felt real. Or maybe that was just me." She tried again, softer this time. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "But you did," I said, stepping closer now, lowering my voice so it hit harder. "And when you realized I wasn't chasing you anymore, that I wasn't playing your game, that's when you started scrambling." "I'm not scrambling. You are now." Jessica's lip trembled slightly. Her gaze darted to the envelope, then to my face. "You're really done?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah." She swallowed. "What if I said I'll cut it off with Evan? For real. Delete everything. Go to therapy. Start over." "You want to reset," I said. "Because you finally realized you're not in control anymore." "That's not true." I tilted my head. Isn't it? Then I stepped even closer. Close enough that she had to look up at me. You try to be a queen in a kingdom you didn't build. Her mouth opened. Closed. No comeback. She dropped the papers on the entry table, breathing faster now. I still love you, she whispered. I didn't flinch. No. You love the version of me who gave and never questioned what he was getting back. Jessica reached for my arm, fingers brushing my sleeve. Tyler, please. Don't do this. But I gently stepped back. I already did. Then I grabbed my keys, slipped on my jacket, and turned toward the door. Behind me, her voice cracked. If you walk out, that's it. I paused at the door. Look back once. You said that like it's supposed to scare me. And with that, I opened the door, stepped into the night air, and closed it behind me. No anger. No chaos. Just silence. And this time, it was mine. The papers went through faster than anyone expected. No drawn-out hearings. No contested filings. She didn't fight it. Maybe because she knew the evidence I had would burn through any courtroom facade she could muster. Or maybe because she finally realized I wasn't bluffing. Within 30 days, the marriage that barely made it past its first calendar month was legally gone. Our names were pulled off joint accounts, off insurance, off the lease. I had the locks changed quietly one afternoon while she was out. Left her a note with the key to a storage unit where I'd boxed her things neatly. Nothing thrown out. Nothing broken. Just cleared. The whispers started almost immediately. Friends, mutual acquaintances, people from the wedding guest list, all trying to piece together what happened. I thought they just got back from Cancun. Didn't they post honeymoon photos? Wait, they're already divorced? Jessica tried to control the narrative at first. She spun it like I had commitment issues, that I panicked post-marriage, that I was emotionally distant, that I changed once the ring was on. But the more she told that story, the more it cracked. People talk. And unfortunately for her, they talked to me too. Turns out, someone she'd been texting had bragged about it. Not just to one person, but in a group chat with two of our mutual friends. That screenshot made the rounds fast. Her flirtations weren't subtle enough to explain away. By the time April rolled in, the tide had fully turned. Men who used to light up around her started keeping their distance. The compliments dried up. Invitations slowed. The brunches, the birthday parties, the rooftop gatherings, all started happening without her. One friend told me, she's not used to the quiet. You were the gravity in her world. Without you, there's no pull. I didn't say much, just nodded, because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to explain anything. I was just living. My days were full, workouts, early mornings, long drives with the windows down. I reconnected with people who actually asked how I was doing, not what I was planning next. I read more, ate better, laughed more. Sometimes I get a text from someone who was at the wedding. Man, I didn't see that coming. And I'd always reply the same way, neither did I. But I'm glad it did. Because peace didn't come in a single moment. It came in layers. Each day a little quieter. Each night a little lighter. And slowly, like a bruise fading, I began to feel whole again. It's strange how fast life folds and unfolds. 1 month. That's all our marriage lasted. 31 days between vows and signatures. A stretch of time shorter than most people's return policy on a wedding gift. I look back now, and not with regret. More like clarity. Because the truth is, the signs were there. They weren't loud, but they existed. In the way she tested affection like it was a negotiation. The way, I love you, sometimes felt like a line read too well. How her eyes sparkled more when people were watching than when we were alone. But I wanted to believe the best in her. In us. That was my mistake. I thought being steady would anchor her. That showing up, being patient, loving her well, that would be enough. I didn't realize that to someone like Jessica, consistency looks like weakness. That kindness is something to control. That silence feels like a green light. And when I didn't chase her, she never saw it coming. She never imagined I'd walk away with nothing but a calm voice and a sealed envelope. That's the part one think about sometimes. Not her betrayal, not the text to Evan, not the lies. But the way she stared at me when I didn't yell, didn't beg. The look of someone watching her mirror crack. Because love without respect is just performance. And control, when unchallenged, feels like power, until it doesn't. I understand now. Peace doesn't arrive when you're loved. It arrives when you enforce what love must look like. And if it doesn't meet that standard, you leave. That's the boundary. The one that saved me. And that was the end of my story. Jessica once told her ex, "You're the only one who really got me," while still wearing my ring. Was that just confusion, or was it a choice to disrespect everything we had? I'm curious. Do you think she did the right thing? Let me know in the comments. And if this story made you feel something, hit that like button and subscribe for more.